Alright, so this is our program here. We have a standard fill-in circuit. If the system is disabled, then the tank output will be set to 0. So when you look here, we have our first rung is just going to read in the amount of water in the tank. So we have two tags here. We have the actual tag, which is coming in, which is the from the analog card, which is an 8-bit analog card. And then we have the control out. And what I'm using is I'm using selector switches. On our PLC, we have a 4-position selector switch. And based on that, I'm going to send out an output of 10%, 25%, 90%, or 100%. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to activate the output control valve, and we want to start it activating at these, or when we flip the switch, it should activate at one of those if the system's enabled. Then we're going to limit our actual output so that the valve never goes below 0 or above 100%. However, we need to scale this because right now it's a 4 to 20 milliamp, or the actual actuator valve works on 4 to 20 milliamps, which means that if we try to output 3 milliamps or 2 milliamps, the valve will actually not activate. It won't even start activating until we get up to 4 milliamps. So what we have to do is, what I'm going to do here is just force an output until we get this actually working and actually outputting a value. And then we'll scale it, and then we'll see how this program works. So the first thing that I'm going to do here before I actually use this program is I'm going to add a rung here, and I'm just going to use a tag value to output values to, I'm going to create a tag. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to create a new tag, which is just going to be a forced output. Okay, and this is going to be an integer because I'm just forcing it out into the control out. Now the control out is an 8-bit card, and the maximum value for that is actually 21 milliamps, which is 32,640 is the integer value for a maximum. However, that doesn't mean that the valve hasn't already maxed out. Just because the card can go that high, the valve may max out before that. And again, the valve is not going to start outputting so here I'm just going to force the output. So the rest of the programs doesn't apply at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to force an output value here in the program. So I'm going to come over here to the tags, and I have my forced output where I can just punch in a value, and then my control out integer is going to be that value up here. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to watch the tank system. We're going to enable the system. Actually, if you look at this, I didn't even tie this to the system enabled. So this last rung right now is just going to output whatever value. So initially my forced value is 0. And so when I download this, it'll output that. And then it's going to, we'll set the values and we'll see where we actually activate this switch. So I guess before I do that, let's see. Well, we'll show this later here. Okay, so right now I'm just going to force the output and figure out where this thing activates at. Okay, so the system is online, right? So you can see over here the system is online, it's running. You can see the tank level is at the input is at 6144. Okay, so let's look at our analog card for a minute. So this is the low resolution, it's an 8-bit analog card. And so its values, we have to enable them. Okay, there's no configuration other than to enable it. Okay, this actually has channel 0 and 1 enabled, but we're really not using channel 1. And the output is enabled. Now it's an 8-bit card, which technically means it can go up to 255. 0 to 255 is the range of values. However, they're shifted 7 bits. So the highest value is 32,640, and that's at either 10.5 volts if you're on the voltage, or at 21 milliamps. Okay, so we're actually wired up for current. So we're going from 0 to 21 milliamps. But again, the valve itself only starts working at 4 milliamps, and the tank sensor only starts working at 4 milliamps. So it's always outputting at least 4 milliamps. So you see this value, 6144, tells us that the tank is empty. The valve sensor is telling us that the tank is empty. And then the output that I'm sending out here, I'm sending out an output of 0 at the moment, but I can change this. Okay, so if I change this to say 4,000, then you can see that I'm outputting 4,000, the integer 4,000. However, if you look at the tank, at the actuator here, you see the flow valve is not doing anything. Well, part of the reason it's not doing anything is I don't have the pump on. So I'm going to turn on the pump, so we'll have a little bit of noise here. Okay, so when I turn on the pump,